Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Iran has a new leader, but no regime change. The son of the former Ayatollah is considered to be even more of a hardliner than his father.
Meanwhile, Israeli forces are targeting Iran's oil facilities and military infrastructure, while Iran and Hezbollah continue launching missiles at Israel. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has the story.
Iran named Mojtaba Khamenei, the second son of the former Ayatollah, as the next leader of Iran, who analysts say is more hardline than his father. President Trump says by getting rid of the Iranian regime, the U.S. will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth.
We will take it out of cancer. You know, don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave an address over the weekend saluting Israel's armed forces and commending citizens for their support. His spokesman David Mencer told CBN News Israelis are holding up under the pressure.
All of us here in Israel are united in supporting our armed forces and supporting the wisdom and the foresight of our Prime Minister and President Trump for getting this job done and ensuring that Iran can never again be a threat to this country.
Israel is targeting infrastructure sites in Tehran and elsewhere, including the IRGC Air Force headquarters and oil warehouse and depot. The war is taking an economic toll as the price of oil topped $100 a barrel. The Jerusalem Post reports an unnamed security official said Iran is unleashing a stepped-up terror campaign on Israelis abroad. We are seeing an Iranian removal of restraints that is almost unprecedented. No proxies, no filters. Where they can act, they act, whether with brazen determination or in a dirty manner. It is a fundamental change in approach because they feel they have nothing to lose right now, given what they have absorbed. Israel is adding new countries to its travel warnings, including several countries bordering or close to Iran, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. Meanwhile, Iran and its proxy Hezbollah continue to launch missiles and drones at Israel, with most targeting the north and center of the country. Most missiles are intercepted, but some have landed, including one that killed 2 Chinese workers in Tel Aviv. Iran continues to strike targets in Arab nations, including a U.S. airbase in Kuwait and a desalination plant in Bahrain. A U.S. military service member died of injuries from an Iranian attack in Saudi Arabia last week. In Washington, D.C., President Trump and Vice President Vance attended the transfer of 6 soldiers who died in an attack on a base in Kuwait. Over the weekend, Israel also carried out more than 100 attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. 2 Israeli soldiers were killed, including a Druze soldier. In a pushback against the terror group, Lebanon adopted a decision banning Hezbollah military and security activities, showing an attempt by the government to position itself as the protector of national security. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now live from Jerusalem. So, Chris, the Muslim clerics have named the son of the former Ayatollah as the new supreme leader. What can you tell us about him, and what does that statement make about Iran's determination to keep on fighting?
Yeah, Gordon, Mojtaba Khamenei, he's 56 years old. He was educated in Iran's religious center, so he's part of that religious fanaticism in Qom. He was in his father's inner circle. He wielded power behind the scenes, and he also has, Gordon, close ties to the IRGC. And to give you an idea of what he's like, he worked with the IRGC to crush the 2009 Green Movement. That was brutal crackdown then as well. But what statement does it make? It's really a defiant move, Gordon. And I think it's designed to signal that the fanatical, jihadist, Shiite ideological line, it's going to continue. It's going to dominate the Iranian leadership. And many see the IRGC as the real power in Iran. But they issued a statement pledging their loyalty and absolute obedience to Khamenei. Now, I said the IRGC, they control most of the economy. So it seems like his election is going to signal that the military security establishment, the IRGC, is still in control. But on the other hand, the U.S. and Israel say, he's really in their sights. They don't want to leave any man standing.
Does this signal there's going to be a crackdown on the protesters yet again, that the people of Iran are not safe from their own government? Are we going to see more repression?
I think that's exactly what it says, Gordon, that the protesters, and I don't think there's many of them out now because of the bombing and the fact that they are putting their lives at risk right now. So I think that kind of suppression, that oppression, and the brutal crackdown on those protests isn't going to end anytime soon. I think it's going to continue.
When you total up the police force of Iran, the Republican Guard, all of these various forces, the clerics, the entire judiciary is part of this. You get to 1 million people who have weapons. And does that make it pretty obvious that until there are ground troops in force in that country, you're not going to see a regime change?
Well, it's a great question. There are about 1 million, I should say, IRGC plus the Bajish, not including the army, which is a whole different story. But it seems like what the U.S. and Israel right now are hitting the headquarters of the IRGC and the Bajish all across Iran. Now, that may destroy their infrastructure, but that certainly doesn't take them off the playing field. And so some people say you're going to have ground troops on the ground at some time. Now, right now, there could be ground forces that will be used to secure nuclear sites, to secure those more than 400 kilos or 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium. That's enough to make 11 nuclear bombs. And that's something that the Israel Special Forces did back in 2006. They destroyed a Syrian nuclear reactor, but the boots on the ground may have to come eventually, but unlikely that there would be a ground invasion. If there was a sudden regime collapse, perhaps, Gordon, or power vacuum, there may be a small force to secure like nuclear sites. But I think what the Israeli ambassador said yesterday, I think is very telling. The ultimate boots on the ground will have to be the Iranian people, representing about 90% of the people that would be able to rise up against those 1 million IRGC and Baji's forces.
Well, it's tough to rise up when you don't have any weapons. Are both sides sort of playing a waiting game here, letting economic forces take over? On the Iranian side, they've closed the Strait of Hormuz, and so oil predictably is I mean, some people are saying it could go as high as $150 a barrel. So, I filled up my gas tank last night, and suddenly it's, 80 cents more a gallon. So that's going to have an obvious impact on every single economy on the planet and every single stock market on the planet. At the same time, Iran doesn't have any way to make money, and so how are they going to pay 1 million people who are on the payroll? So at some point in time, those paychecks stop. Are both sides playing some kind of strange waiting game? Who's got the most money to wait it out?
I think that's exactly what's happening right now. I mean, the Trump card, no pun intended, has to be the Strait of Hormuz. And if Iran can shut that down, where 20% of the world's oil goes through, that's their main thing that they can do. On the other hand, just yesterday, it was the U.S. and Israel that hit much of the oil facilities in Tehran. And now they didn't strike the infrastructure. And they want to keep that in place for any potential future government. But they have hit much of their fuel depots, and that takes away some of their economy and the ability to actually fuel the IRGC, the Baji's, and the army. So it definitely is an economic war going on behind all the explosions and the kinetic battle that's going on.
Real quick on Lebanon, is the Lebanese government doing this just for show? I mean, they should have cracked down on Hezbollah decades ago. And so they've passed this resolution. Are they finally going to enforce their own government, keep a terror group from operating out of their own territory?
Well, if you listen to the prime minister, the president, they're really making unprecedented condemnations of Hezbollah. I think the only reason they can do it, and they are doing it right now, Gordon, is the fact that the Israeli Air Force and troops on the ground are hitting Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley and their their headquarters in Beirut. And because of that, I think that's why the government is coming out with these strong statements. I think until then and until now, they really haven't felt they've had the ability or the boots on the ground, I should say, the force behind them that's really going to degrade Hezbollah to a measure where they can actually speak out against them.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for joining with us. I'm not hearing sirens in the background, so that's good news for Jerusalem today. Thanks for joining with us.
Thanks, Gordon.
Well, in neighboring Armenia, churches and humanitarian groups are getting ready for the possibility of thousands of Iranian refugees crossing the border. CBN's Operation Blessing, along with Armenian and Iranian Christians, is preparing to help anyone fleeing the violence. George Thomas reports from Armenia's border with Iran.
Inside a small church here in Armenia, the sound of Persian worship fills the room. But this congregation is different from most churches here. Each person is a refugee from Iran, men and women who fled persecution and found safety across the border. Now, many in this church are anxiously watching, worried about family members still trapped inside the country.
When I am anxious, I constantly pray and believe that it is the powerful hand of God that is upon my family.
As war engulfs their homeland, those prayers carry even more urgency.
May God truly help us, and may Iran be cleansed of the Islamic Republic and the roots of their oppression and tyranny be eradicated from my country.
Nellie became a Christian after she saw Jesus in a dream. She says her faith keeps her steady as she follows the news from home. We've taken precautions to protect her identity.
God is faithful to the promises he has made to me in my life. So because I have seen in the past that he is faithful, this is what gets me through each day.
Others here described the repression that forced them to leave Iran in the first place.
The Islamic Republic is very, very cruel, and we've endured this for 47 years, never imagining we would ever get rid of it.
Still, many feel a complicated mix of grief and hope.
It's a paradox because I'm both sad and happy at the same time. Sad because so many of my friends are being killed in the middle of their city streets, but happy because a foreign force has come to help us.
As the war intensifies, Armenian churches and humanitarian groups like Operation Blessing are getting ready for what could come next.
We see the situation, it goes to another level, and so we have to be prepared.
Two of these, one of these.
Samson Murchian, a longtime Armenian pastor, is working with Operation Blessing to assemble hygiene kits, food packages, and emergency supplies in case large numbers begin crossing the border.
Orphans Promise have a long-time relationship with Pastor Sam and his church, working in the region for many years. Right now, we're activating this partnership to work with him for the potential wave of refugees coming out of Iran.
Over the weekend, Armenian Christian volunteers joined in, stacking box after box with relief supplies. Murchan has an army of volunteers ready to move at a moment's notice.
They are ready for 24/7 to help not only in here, also in the border.
Some relief boxes were delivered to the small Iranian congregation that meets in Yerevan.
For these Iranian believers, it's not just about geopolitics, it's very personal. Every single person in this room has family members today in Iran. And now they're only not just praying for the regime to change, but also for the chance to go back to their homeland.
My dream is that we can worship God in a free Iran and proclaim the true God to the people. This is the dream that all of us, the servants who were exiled from Iran, have in our heads.
Well, George Thomas is on the Armenian border with Iran. He joins us now. So, George, describe the situation there. Armenia is expecting a flood of refugees in the days ahead. How is Operation Blessing preparing to help?
Yeah, Gordon, you know these guys, brave men and women who are on the front lines around the world. They've got such tremendous experience covering these kinds of situations. Obviously, the Ukraine war comes to mind and all the great work they've done there. But look, they're talking to local partners, not just here along the Armenian-Iranian border, but also in Yerevan, connecting with Armenian churches, connecting with the Iranian diaspora who are also living here. They've met with local, the city mayor in this region of Agarak, which is right on that Armenian-Iranian border, meeting with the local officials to say, listen, once this flood, if the potential of thousands of Iranian refugees come streaming across the Armenian border, which is directly right behind me, how do we care for them? And so the authorities want to talk with Operation Blessing, talking about setting up tents, getting cooks into the region, being able to feed folks, and then finding accommodations. Gordon, let me just tell you the trek we took from Yerevan, the capital city, to come to the Iranian-Armenian border. It took about 7 hours going through some incredible mountain passes. It's a long and windy and at times dangerous journey. And so what Operation Blessing is in essence doing the prep work, talking to the local authorities, talking to the churches, the Armenian as well as Iranian congregations, making sure that they have translators, for example, once Iranians come across the border, to be able to speak to them in their own languages. This is the great work that OB has done. I've reported on them from all around the world, and they're experts at doing this.
Well, it sounds like they're going to be overwhelmed if it's that hard to get supplies to the region. That just seems like a supply train that's going to be very difficult to keep the supplies flowing to the area. Is there any possibility of airlifting to that region?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends when you've got the Israelis and the Americans controlling the airspace all across Iran. That's a different story. But here in Armenia, I mean, I think folks are taking a wait-and-see approach. I mean, you keep in mind, I was talking to Iranians just today, folks who are part of the underground church, and they said, you know, Iran, you have to keep in mind, you've got 90 million plus people. It's a massive country. And those who are, you know, whether in Tabriz or Isfahan or Qom or Tehran, you know, they've got relatives on the eastern side of the country. So you haven't seen the Israelis nor the Americans target much of the eastern side of the country. Most of the attacks have been along the Iraqi border on the western side of Iran. That's where the Israelis and the Americans have really focused on since the second week into the war. And so if you do have relatives on the eastern side, folks will end up going there. But this is a border. We just went there this morning to see if there was any foot traffic coming across. There wasn't any foot traffic. A lot of trucks going back and forth. The border is open. But again, it's all about a wait and see what happens in the days and the weeks ahead. Gordon?
Well, it looks like the hardliners have reasserted their control over the Republican Guard, over the police. The clerics are still there. The judiciary is still there. Are the Iranian Christians you're talking to anticipating further crackdowns against either protests or Christians within the country?
Yeah, in fact, just this weekend, I saw a video from Jamkaran, one of the mosques that I have been to inside of Iran. In fact, it's the same mosque that the new supreme leader was, in essence, inaugurated. I've been to that mosque. At that same mosque this weekend, a clarion call went out from one of the top IRGC commanders saying to the protesters, if you step out of your home, we will consider you equivalent to an Israeli soldier, which means that you will be taken down. The Trump administration has urged Iranians to stay home in the midst of their military campaign. But look, I think, Gordon, I've reported from Iran. I've been covering the region for 30 plus years. You very well know, I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, regime change is not a walk in the park. It is bloody, it's messy, it's complicated. And in many occasions, you see the potential of civil war happening. You saw that in Iraq. Taking down the IRGC, you just mentioned to Chris, it's a million-plus army, including the Basiji, the IRGC, and the Artesh, which is known as the regular Iranian army, close to about 400,000 people. How do you disarm all these folks? The president talks about laying down your weapons. Who do you lay down your weapons to? Who do you hand those weapons to? The Iranians I've spoken to, Gordon, know that this is going to be a very long process. It's going to take it's taken 47 years to get to this point. It's not an overnight fix. And then the other thing, you know this very, very well, because you've spoken about this, you can go after the command and control, the infrastructure. But Gordon, what do you do to the heart, the ideology that seeps in this country and in this culture? 47 years of that radical Islamic Sharia law, very archaic form of Islamic jurisprudence. How do you change that mindset? And boy, oh boy, that is something that's perhaps going to take a generation or two to change those hearts and minds.
Well, I've been doing a study of history. The last country to throw off Islamic rule of this level was Spain, and it took them 7 centuries to do it. They talk about the Reconquista, and I'm pretty sure Americans aren't ready for 7 centuries. We think a whole century is way too long. We think next day delivery. We don't think in terms of this kind of change. In talking to Armenian Christians, have they been waiting for this moment to take the gospel across the border? What are their plans? In order to change the ideology, you just can't fill it with nothing. So, you know, we've been preaching the gospel there for 20 years. What are the Armenian Christians planning?
Yeah, just to that point real quickly, Orphans Promise came here into Armenia in 2008. They run 4 centers around the country, in essence, ministering to families at risk. They've got between 50 to 300 children that come to these centers. They're taught English, they're taught the business, the computers, all kinds of life skills as well. Like you said, they've been ministering in the region. In 2016, there was a war against Azerbaijan. They were ministering to refugees. Then in 2020, another war with Azerbaijan, and then the most recent one against in the area of Nagorno-Karabakh in 2023. And it was Orphans Promise, along with Operation Blessing, being the only humanitarian organization that took 2 trucks of relief supplies past Azerbaijan forces as well as Russian forces into Nagorno-Karabakh. So it's been a long-term relationship that they've had with the Armenians. But you know, the cool thing I found out this morning, and I've traveled all around the world, I did not know the story, but several years ago, Armenian Christians from this small Christian nation, they had a heart to move to this very border region between Iran and Armenia. And I spoke to these Armenian believers. God called them to say, listen, why don't you go? This was about 6-7 years ago. Come to this border region. And God brought them here. And they have been going. In fact, I spoke to one Armenian Christian who has been across, Gordon, has been across this border more than 100 times, going back and forth. And you say, how is that possible? Well, Armenians don't need a visa to cross into Iran. Neither do Iranians need a visa to come into Armenia. And then the other thing is that there's a major road. I didn't know this. There's a major road that the Iranians and the Armenians are building that is coming from Iran right up the center of the country. So guess what? You've got hundreds of Iranians who've come into Armenia. They've set up their little small villages. And then Armenian Christians are going into these villages and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with them. And today they're on this border waiting for that moment where the regime falls. One ministry has over 150,000 Bibles in the Farsi language, both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Armenian Christians are getting ready, just as people around the world who've been interceding and praying for the nation of Iran all these 47 years. That's the beautiful thing. That's the good story, the hope that's happening today in this region. In the midst of all the chaos and all the bombs and all the missiles flying, folks need to be encouraged that Armenian Christians, along with others, the brothers and sisters from around the world, are positioned in a very strategic place and a strategic moment, knowing that when that eventual collapse of the regime happens, that they'll be going in ready to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to their Iranian brothers and sisters.
Well, George, thanks for that insight. Thanks for your report right there on the border between Armenia and Iran. And thank you for that word of encouragement. We'll be praying for you and praying for your safety.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. If you want to be a part of this relief effort, this is not something new for CBN. You've heard Orphans Promise on the ground since 2009. Heart for Iran has been broadcasting on satellite television for 20 years now, and we want to increase all of that. In order to see this regime change, we have to change the hearts. We have to preach the gospel. We have to let them know that their whole concept about God is false, and that regime is built on a fabric of lies. How do we do that? Well, we do it with love, and love never fails. Let us continue to love on people and love very, very tangibly. If you want to be part of preaching the gospel, you can give to Heart for Iran. It's real simple. Call us, 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to cbn.com/Iran. If you want to be part of the humanitarian relief effort as refugees leave Iran and leave the potential for horrific repression from their own government, Operation Blessing is pre-staging on that border. We're helping the people that have left, and we want to help and get ready. The supply lines are iffy at best. We need to use whatever we have now to prepare for what is to come. If you want to be a part of that, it's real simple. Call us again, 1-800-700-7000. You can give by check, just write Disaster Relief Fund in the memo line. You can text OBDR to 51555, or again, you can call us, 1-800-700-7000. Terry, it must give you great satisfaction to be on the ground, to be ready. You were looking just to help the people of Armenia, but now it's turned into a much bigger effort.
They are remarkable people. A lot of poverty there, and so much war has happened in that area, but the people love the Lord, and it is a wonderful culture. It's been our privilege to be there, and Samson is leading the charge, and he's a great guy, so lots of good work going on.
Well, the debate over gender reassignment treatment for children is becoming a critical issue in our national politics. President Trump wants the federal government to take action against these procedures. He's making it a top priority going into the midterm elections. Gary Lane has more.
During his recent State of the Union address, President Trump once again called for the end of gender reassignment treatment for minors. As part of this, he introduced Sage Blair. At the age of 14, school officials encouraged her to transition without her parents' knowledge. Bullied, sexually harassed, and confused, Sage ran away from home.
A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
The president has made it clear he stands with parents and supports laws that ensure they are not left in the dark when it comes to their children.
Surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we've been talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately.
In addition, the president has already taken action to cut federal Medicaid and Medicare funds to hospitals that offer puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or gender reassignment surgeries to minors. Why would physicians dedicated to preserving and protecting life, health, and wellness be involved in doing this to little kids?
When you look at the decisions that were made, there were too much politics that jumped into medicine, and it just overran common sense, and it overran like the standard evidence-based practice that we've been doing for decades and decades.
Emergency room physician and Iraqi combat veteran Colonel Josh McConkey suggests President Trump is redirecting American healthcare providers to return to scientific practices.
The evidence has not really supported this type of practice, and this is just the government getting back to only funding medical research, like medical treatments for things that actually have some proven benefit.
Federal financial pressures, along with greater public awareness, are working to stem this tide. New York University Hospital, also known as NYU Langone Health, recently announced it will not continue its transgender youth health program. In 2022, about 105 U.S. hospitals provided some form of gender-altering treatment to minors. That number has now dropped by almost half, totaling only about 55 hospitals nationwide. McConkey, a former Duke University professor, says he taught his students surgery should only be done if it clearly helps the patient. Studies show that gender reassignment surgery offers very little short-term benefit.
In fact, when you look at the long-term health effects, they're actually quite dangerous. So when you look at the mental health issues alone, and when you look at the bone density and brain development, those types of things have long-term health consequences that we're now seeing.
Consequences like permanent sterility. At just 13 years old, Chloe Cole began taking puberty blockers and testosterone. By age 15, she underwent a double mastectomy. At 17, Chloe began to detransition. Now she doesn't know if she will ever be able to have children. She shares that she grieves not being able to breastfeed someday.
I had this moment of like, what have I done to myself? This is beautiful. This is incredible. I'm never gonna be able to do it. And that was the moment of like, I can't go any further. I can't keep doing this to myself. This is destroying me. This is horrific. I don't even know if there is any going back, but I sure am not going forward. And so I made the choice to detransition.
I have 3 children. Those are the things that I am most proud of. And, just producing something, my wife and I, that we know is going to live on and hopefully do great things. Of just having children is just one of those fundamental things that are so important to humanity. And you take that away from these children, it's almost criminal.
Not only morally criminal, according to McConkey and other medical professionals, and if President Trump gets his way, soon the gender reassignment of minors will be a federal crime as well. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Well, it's like we're slowly catching up to the rest of the world. Great Britain made these findings a few years back. They came to the same conclusion that gender transition for minors had some very severe long-term effects, and it wasn't health care at all. But it seems to become almost a pledge for the so-called progressive movement that, this is their right and we need to enforce it. And you take a step back, they don't even know who they are. And you're changing their fundamental genetic identity based on, some kind of thought process in your teen years. Well, you're cutting off their future. Recently had a 3rd grandchild, and just the transcendent moment of holding that little baby in my arms and realizing that, yes, God works through the generations. And how can I pour into her? How can I bless her? How can I provide for her? The righteous make a blessing, give an inheritance for their children's children. When you cut all of that off, you're cutting off that future. So let's not do that as a culture. Let's not create some kind of pledge that somehow it's gender rights. No, you're cutting off their future, and realize that future is very precious and very fragile. Well, most teens go to Instagram to post selfies, check out pictures of their friends. When Phoebe logged in, she wanted to find out who she had been seeing in her dreams.
18-year-old Phoebe grew up with a verbally and physically abusive father. She spent most of her childhood enduring his constant attacks.
I remember one day he called me stupid and he got very angry. He then grabbed me, threw me down, and started stomping on my stomach. He said I was useless.
Some of the marks of her dad's abuse are permanent.
I remember I wanted to watch TV, but he got angry and I didn't understand why. Then out of nowhere, he picked up the TV and threw it at me. My tooth got damaged.
The older she got, the more Phoebe felt like her family didn't want her.
I felt like I was the most hated kid in my family. I felt like a worthless child. Growing up, I began to hurt myself. Every time my dad got angry and shouted I was useless, I would just punch my face in front of him and shout back at him, "Yeah, I'm useless."
Finally, she left home for good.
I was truly desperate and hopeless.
Phoebe grew up in a Muslim home in Indonesia. One night she fell asleep and had a strange dream about a man dressed in white.
In that dream, I felt so peaceful, and I felt like he was giving me courage, even though he didn't speak any words. The way he looked at me was full of love, as if he was saying to me, "Don't be afraid, I am here."
Then Phoebe had a second dream.
In my second dream, I was at a church, praising, worshiping, and interacting with other people. It felt so beautiful and full of love.
Curious about her dreams, Phoebe found help through a link on a friend's Instagram account. It took her to CBN Indonesia's program for teens on YouTube called Super Youth.
It turned out I really connected to the story about a young woman I saw on Super Youth. She chose to follow God. I felt like her struggle was similar to mine.
The next day, she went to the Super Youth Instagram account again, which then led her to the CBN Prayer Center in Indonesia.
That led me to a WhatsApp chat. I messaged someone in that chat, and not long after, one of the prayer center called me.
Phoebe talked about her dreams and her search for love. That night, she prayed to become a Christian.
I decided to give my life to Jesus. I prayed, "Lord Jesus, I want to receive you as the Lord and Savior. Help me and guide me. I pray that you are always in my heart." After I prayed that night, the call center staff arranged to connect me to a nearby church.
Phoebe said during this process, she's been able to forgive her father and her family.
I feel the emptiness in my heart has gone because God has filled it. The love that I never got from my dad now has been given to me by the Father in heaven. Thank you to the Super Youth program for being the channel to help me and other teenagers like me. And also thank you so much to the donors who gave to support CBN's ministry. Thank you and God bless you.
And that God bless you goes to you if you're a member of the 700 Club. Because of your faithful giving over the years, we were able to start all these wonderful centers. And we have one in Jakarta. Now, Jakarta is in the heart of Indonesia. It's the capital. Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world by population. It's also the largest by geography. But after Suharto fell, they had a dedication to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. They wanted to make sure that they could be free. It was very similar to a situation, a dictatorship, to what we're looking at in Iran today, where he unleashed his military on the civilian population. In the aftermath of that, they wanted freedom, and they wanted freedom for everyone. And that's exactly when CBN Indonesia started. And so we want to be there for people as they're searching. God is appearing to Muslims in dreams and visions. He is showing himself strong. And Jesus is showing up in their dreams. And when they have questions, what just happened to me? How do I know? Is this the real God? What's the story here? Can you tell me this? Well, we want to be there for them because they're searching, and we want to provide the answer for them. And it's wonderful when we all come together and say, well, let's do this. Let's finish the Great Commission. Let's establish production centers. We now have over 20 around the world. Let's establish prayer centers. We have hundreds. It's incredible what happens when we all get together and say, let's do this. If you want to join the 700 Club, now's the time to do it. Call us, 1-800-700-7000. How much is it to join? Well, it's just $20 a month. That breaks out to 65 cents a day. Some of you can join at higher levels. We have 700 Club Gold at $40 a month. 1,000 Club, $1,000 a year. That's $84 a month. 2,500 Club is $2,500 a year. Founder, $5,000 or more. Then Chairman Circle, $10,000 or more a year. At whatever level, when you call and join, make sure you ask for Pledge Express. That's electronic monthly giving. We send as our gift to you Power for Life monthly teaching downloads or CDs, your choice. This one is particularly relevant for today's world, the power of the fellowship of his suffering. Let us preach Christ and let us preach him crucified. That is the message of salvation. That's the message for today for the suffering church, whether it's in Iran or in the Muslim countries, India, China. We want to let them know that there's a fellowship you can have in the middle of that suffering. And we want to let you know that there's grace in it, there's power in it. You can become more than a conqueror through the love of Christ. If you want to join with us in preaching that message, call us, 1-800-700-7000.
Welcome back to the 700 Club for this CBN News Break. 2 men are in custody in connection to a homemade bomb thrown into a crowd of demonstrators in New York City. It happened this weekend outside of the New York mayor's mansion, where Zohran Mamdani, the city's first Muslim mayor, resides. A group called Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City held demonstrations outside the mansion. A counter-protester threw a bomb filled with shrapnel, which failed to detonate but spewed smoke. The second man is accused of supplying him with a device. The 2 men have not been linked to any terrorist group, but one of them reportedly told investigators that they sympathized with ISIS videos online. CBN Superbook brought joy and the love of Jesus Christ to students in Croatia. In the city of Sisak, a Superbook team hosted a special outreach event at a public elementary school. The children enjoyed a Superbook episode in their own language, learning biblical truths and dancing with Gizmo. The school's staff made a special effort to ensure every child could attend, including those traveling in by bus from branch schools. The team shared the gospel with an emphasis that Jesus loves them even if they feel unseen by others. You can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by going to cbn.com/international. Gordon and Terry will be back right after this.
Relief pitchers are called firemen for a reason. They're often thrown into high-pressure situations and told to extinguish the threats. UCLA's Chris Grothues is one of the top bullpen arms in college baseball, and as he told Will Dawson, he's no stranger to handling adversity.
For most of the country, springtime signals a thaw. In Los Angeles, there's no shortage of sunshine, and UCLA's baseball diamond is already heating up. Meet Bruins pitcher Chris Grothues. Born in an abusive home, Chris experienced anything but warmth.
I had abusive parents. You know, my birth mother lost custody of me and had to give me up for adoption. I don't remember much, but just the stories I've been told, it's like, wow, God saved me, and whether, I don't know where I'd be if I was still in that family. I mean, I wouldn't be here for sure.
Chris was adopted into a Christian home, and in high school, he excelled at baseball. His sophomore year, he accepted a scholarship to play at UCLA after graduation.
I was like, I'm committing on the spot. Why wait for any other colleges when I got my dream school waiting for me to commit?
He considered himself a Christian, but wasn't living like it.
I was in the world for sure. Not going out, parties, all that, just living for the world and not for Christ.
During his junior high school season, a knee injury suddenly put his scholarship to UCLA in jeopardy. Chris cried out to God.
I tore my ACL. I'm like, wow, like, this can't be real. And I remember just going on my knees, like crying, like, Lord, what are you trying to do with me right now? I've performed well. I thought I gave glory to you, which I really wasn't. And it was kind of like a reset. Like, Lord, you can take baseball away from me whenever you want. And if you don't want me to play anymore, you don't have to let me play anymore. And just praying about it and got through it. And it really, that first injury was like a wake-up call to have my foundation in Christ and just live by his word daily.
UCLA's Coach Savage reaffirmed his commitment to Chris.
Right before, my parents actually told me to call him. I was scared. And they're like, well, just pray about it before you call him. And I prayed. I was like, Lord, just give me the words to say. And whatever happens, I know it's for you. It's for your glory. And if that's not playing baseball anymore, it's not playing baseball. Just give me the strength and courage just to talk to Coach Savage and not be scared and just tell him up front what happened. And I called him and he was calm. He was like, hey, you're going to get through this. You're fine. And sure enough, I was.
In the summer between his freshman and sophomore seasons at UCLA, Chris tore a ligament in his pitching arm, requiring surgery. Later in his sophomore season, he tore his meniscus.
I'm thinking I'm just going to hang up the cleats. I'm an injury guy. Back-to-back years where I'm getting injured. I just want to stop at this point. And then from a couple of guys from my team, they told me, hey, you'll be all right. Pray about it. They gave me Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he'll make straight your path. And it's like, Lord, like, I trust you. Whatever's going on, I trust you. I'm giving everything to you. Just help me get through this injury.
Chris had his meniscus removed and was back in action in just 3 weeks, surprising his doctors.
They didn't think I was going to come back, and actually training hard in the physical therapy room, whether that was 3 hours a day or 6 hours a day, I was in there trying to get better and trying to prove everyone else wrong. And the Lord helped me do that.
Just 2 months later, Chris helped pitch UCLA to the 2025 College World Series.
I was like, wow, I made it. Like, this is what I wanted for the longest time I remember, 15 years or whatever it's been. I took a second, like, just to look around. I was like, wow, this is unreal. Like, I cannot write this up myself if I wanted to. And then striking out the side against LSU, I was like, wow, this is just unbelievable.
After the season, Chris was named FCA Baseball Athlete of the Year. He knows even through adversity, God shows us his love.
He's really faithful. I mean, I remember reading the book of Job not too long ago and just reading how, you know, Job had everything and then God allowing Satan just to take everything away. Baseball was taken away from me and then God restored it plentyfold. And I feel like he's blessed me kind of in that same way where, yeah, he took everything away from me for a year and a half, 2 years of my life, but then he had the bigger plan for me, and not just pitching here, but pitching in a College World Series and sharing my testimony in front of thousands of viewers that were watching on social media. So kind of just looking through that and really applying that to my life, where if something's not really going my way, I just look to that and like, you know what, God, your plans are better than mine. I'm just going to trust you through the process.
I love that. His plans are always better than ours, and trusting him is what makes the journey an adventure. So great testimony of a young guy that's got it.
I'm watching that and going, where do these young men come from? I'm watching the news. Everything is like doom and gloom and, you know, bombs going off in New York kind of stuff. And then here in a dugout at the UCLA baseball team, they're giving him some incredible spiritual wisdom, and you go, yay, God.
Kudos,
yeah.
Absolutely. Time for an email question. This is Terry. I did not write this. I've always heard that everyone...
She disavows anything to do with this question.
I have always heard that everyone in Israel must join the military, and when they get out, they must keep their weapon to defend their country. Why wasn't there more of a fight on October 7th?
Well, Terry, there's an obligation for military service. When you are on furlough in that military service, you keep your weapon with you, and you're accountable for that weapon. When you are no longer in the service, you don't keep that weapon. And Israel has some very strict gun control laws for a very real reason, and that is terrorism. If a gun ever gets into the hands of a terrorist, it is going to be used, and it's going to be used against civilians. The failure on October 7th is a multi-tiered failure, both in terms of not listening to a group of on the front lines, and you know, was it because there were women? Is part of the, you know, the commander didn't believe them, and then throughout the Israeli military, they didn't think Hamas had the capability to launch an attack like that. And so it was a combination of errors that led to an horrific attack and Israel has now vowed never again. Here are words from Romans: "Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved." God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.